All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy.
All right, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. We are back. We are live. Thank you for taking the opportunity and giving us your time to join us this morning. We've got Lonnie on the road. Lonnie, thanks for, making time for the show.
What's up? I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, Mark is almighty. Mark.
Greetings.
69th Blizzard, the one, the only, the voice of reason, the only opinion that matters to himself. Ken.
Right. Hello.
Yes.
And the wild man from the north, Daniel.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm looking at your hair jealously because I just had my spring shearing and there wasn't much to share.
Sharing.
Yeah. It's just
Well, it was way better 10 years ago, but I still got some.
yeah, those days are gone. It's all growing back in the wrong fucking places at this age. All right, we've got some various topics. We're going to be doing the last 16 of the death match. We are getting near the end. We'll be doing one more show and blasting through the final brackets for that, and then we'll be getting going with a new bracket. Got to figure out which it's going to be because we are going to do the solo album bracket, the Kiss solo albums in September as part of the celebration. Pathodon, Cecil Music, CMX, Sylvie, AB, Bill Phelps, Opal Archive, Titania, whatever. Thank you for joining us live. So, Gene Simmons went to South America with his band, and one of the really nice things about that is the positivity coming out of how great the band sounds, how released Gene seems from the shackles that have been holding him back to a certain extent, and how he wasn't wearing asshole sunglasses or a hat, and he looked pretty good and sounded great. Lonnie, did you manage to catch up on any of the Gene live stuff?
A little bit, yeah, and I think that it's great. I mean, it's fun to see Gene still out there doing it. I mean that guy obviously truly loves what he does, or else he wouldn't be out there doing the solo stuff so quickly. You know, I think that and it sounds great. So I mean, I'm all for it, and hope that these continue, and hope to see a little run through the States like he did a few years ago. But I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, not too surprisingly, he dropped Weapons of Mass Destruction from the set list. But South American audience, Daniel, did you catch up on that after? I mean, we talked about the set for what it was worth, but it seemed to go over really good with that audience.
Yeah, I think looking back at Gene's previous solo tour, he will change the setup, and that's a great thing. We're not used to that as Kiss fans. We're used to the same old set list all the time. But Gene will mix things around, mix things up, and I hope he adds like fits like a glove and stuff like that when it comes over. I actually bought a ticket after watching the South American shows. It's a cheap ticket. It's like, let's see, now I have to translate it in my head. It's like not even $10 the ticket for Gene in Sweden.
Wow.
So that's actually, I bought the ticket. I'll see if I go there, because it's like 800 kilometers from here, so it's pretty far to go, but it's in the summer, and we got a long vacation over here, so I might go there.
Cool. Hit the road. Why not? Go see some live music. Pathodon now. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, you're in Chicago this week about to play a gig. So one of the Kiss brothers has new music out, Devolution. Check him out on Facebook. If you like heavy, they'll melt your brains. So congratulations on having the EP out, guys, and have a great show. Mark, one of the things that Gene was saying from the stage, nothing is fake. We sing live, we play live. What's your take on that? And do you think that he's been freed of some shackles that have been holding him back?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty clear that he's having a good time doing this, not having to play to any sort of a click or any kind of pre-recorded vocals obviously makes it a lot more enjoyable. You can, if you miss a vocal or if you come in late, it's not a big disaster. You can just walk over to the microphone and just start whenever you want to, and as long as the band's listening to you properly, then it's not a big deal, right? You can just do whatever you want. And like Daniel said too, the beauty of it as well is that because you don't have, these prearranged stuff, you can change your set list much easier because you don't have to worry about, the lighting is already prearranged to this set list. So you can do whatever you want. You can add whatever you want. He's still doing a couple of covers. That's fine. But, the audience seems to be enjoying it. He seems to be having a good time. And that's the main thing. I mean, having played festivals myself a few times, especially in, on, let's say, like I got to play once at the Azore Islands in Portugal, and that was like fantastic. Like you're right by the ocean, playing on a big stage like that. It's I mean, what's there to complain about? You know what I mean? You have a large audience that's loving the music and cheering you on and stuff like that, and it's great. I think Gene's gonna have a good time, doing these kinds of shows.
Pile Driver had a great audience for that pro shop video with the soundboard. Where was that? That was Germany?
Yeah, I was in Germany, yeah.
Yeah, freaking mental. Ken, your boy's back on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your take on him being, nothing is fake?
Yeah, nothing is fake. Yeah, I always felt that he didn't really agree to that lip syncing stuff, and though he kind of had to fall in line because Paul's running the show, so it was just
we're off.
That was Mark as usual. But anyway, but yeah, I think it's great though. He seems energized. He seems energized and happy, and to be back on the stage, just doing what he wants to do. Hopefully he'll make it out to California at some point. I'd like to go see it, even though I'd like the set list to change a little bit, of course. But yeah, I'm all for it. I think I don't know how long this thing's going to go on. If he's going to go on beyond this year and do it again next year or what. But I think it's all good. Whatever makes him happy. And obviously be on the stage does, so that's great stuff.
Hey, he could roll out of bed. He doesn't have to spend an hour doing makeup. He doesn't have to
sure,
half the shit that he's had to do as part of the business side of things. I don't doubt that. Well, he'll want to sell some stuff because the whole object of the game is to make money.
True.
And again, it is an experience for people to meet him. I would still like to get a great picture with Gene without makeup after that fucking one in Edmonton, which they snapped me as I'm walking in, and hi Gene. I look a little bit dumber than normal.
Fanboy.
He's just there, ready to pose. A horrendous photo. It's like Jesus, but I'm excited. It's great to see Gene back on the road, and like Ken, I hope he makes it out to the West Coast. I hope Ace does as well, for that matter. There's now 2 original members of Kiss out there playing Kiss music, and that's what there is. There's nothing else to look forward to. Pop House doesn't seem to have anything on the horizon until 2027, and it's early days. Of that deal anyway, for anything to creativity wise start coming down the pipeline, because who knows if their vision is the same as the old vision in terms of the other, if it's all avatars and only avatars, which ain't gonna hold my interest for 3 years. So we'll have to wait and see. One of the other topics on the board this week was losing interest, and who was that by? That was Goody or Goady. I don't know how you say your name. So our resident Thai. Do you find yourself losing interest in Kiss now that the end of the road has been reached? Are you listening to Kiss less? Are you checking in on message boards and podcasts and Facebook groups less than you were previously? Or was it already a pretty low bar by the time we've reached the end of the road, Mark?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be honest, okay? I mean, if there's one thing you can rely on is I'll be honest on this podcast, and that is, I've been, I'm not going to say I've lost interest. I still have interest. Obviously, I wouldn't be here doing this if I didn't have any interest in Kiss, but I've really sort of took a left turn, and went, and I've been watching a lot of like these hardcore metal podcasts. Like the other night, they were doing a top thrash metal albums between 85 to 1990 kind of podcast and stuff like that. So I mean, because when I was younger, I was into all these bands like Opeth, Nevermore, all these sort of more thrashier bands, even like the old school like Megadeth,
Swedish bands.
As well. Yeah, Evergrey is a good. Yeah,
Evergrey.
Yeah.
Opeth, I think, is Swedish as well.
Yeah, they are.
I was
Swedish,
a closet Tankard fan.
There you go.
You remember that?
Well, I mean,
Which album won, or which artist won that competition?
well, it was between, there was 3 different people, and all of them had different opinions on which ones were. It wasn't like a final thing like how we do it, right? Everybody just had their own opinions, and they just talked about it. But Blackwater Park did very well though for Opeth and stuff like that, right? But I still think that the problem with Kiss right now is because they're technically dead in the water now. It is difficult to kind of find reason to be all up and excited about stuff. There's not going to be any new records coming out. There's not going to be anything new coming probably for a little bit, right?
Hopefully been a new record in over a decade though either. So.
Yeah, true. But but that makes my point even better. I mean, what is there really to be excited about? I mean, they're just reissuing stuff, but I get excited about the reissues. Those are okay. Mm-hmm. But that's why I'm kind of keeping my interest flexible and going to some of these other things, because there's a lot of bands I'm into that are doing material and putting out new things and touring still. So I'll never lose my interest totally in Kiss, but it's probably lower than it's been now for a little while.
Yeah, there's a lot of other music shit happening. Wolfgang Van Halen's behind the music. I don't know if that's dropped yet, but it's imminently going to drop, and it's going to be good. Trust me on that. Def Leppard has the Pyromania box set, which CD2 is where it's all at for fans of that band, which are the demos and rough mixes, and it's absolutely fantastic. And plus what they did with the German partial show that they included sounds spectacular. Bon Jovi documentary for people who go that way as well. So there's tons of there's tons of music, not necessarily new, to keep you occupied. Lonnie, what about your interest level?
Well, I think my interest level is the same. I don't think it's waned or anything like that. I mean, like I said, it's not like all of a sudden, now there's no new album to look forward to. Like I said, there hasn't been a new album in a decade. I think being a Kiss fan is kind of like you're always kind of frustrated with what's going on or what's not going on. I think it's kind of remained the same, really. I mean, I think it is frustrating that we announced this deal with Pop House, I guess what was a month ago, and that just kind of faded, and we're just kind of back in purgatory where we've been. But we have been in purgatory for like the last year or so while we were waiting for the Pop House deal, and I know it's we all want instant gratification, but obviously nothing has happened yet. So I don't find myself listening to Kiss less, though, to be perfectly honest. I don't find that my interest in Kiss is any less than it's been. I think that Kiss has become such a big part of me and a big part of my life that, well, now that they're not doing shows, well, I'm just putting them on the back burner. That's not going to be the case for, I think, the super fans like us and super fans who are on the FAQ message board on a daily, or so basis. For the casual fan, sure. For the casual fan who might go see Kiss when they come to town, yeah, they don't. Well, Kiss isn't coming to town anymore. Well, my interest is gonna, steer in another direction. But I think for the hardcore Kiss fans, no. I think my interest is just what it always has been.
Yeah, Daniel, how about you? Obviously, if you've just bought a $10 ticket to see Gene Simmons, there's still a trickle of interest there.
Yeah. I don't know. I think my interest in Kiss is in my DNA. I will never lose interest in Kiss. They have been so important to me. And Julian has prepared a podcast for a Swedish podcast, actually. And I've been working on an episode as well for that podcast. And my take was going through why I became a Kiss fan and how it has developed through the years, and it became pretty obvious that I can't shake the Kiss interest. It doesn't really matter what happens, what they do, if they stop playing, if they record lousy music. It's still there somehow. And I will continue to listen to Kiss music. And I think the interest in fandom has like developed into something more than just being a fan of the band. These days, I enjoy the podcasting with you guys. That's a really important thing in my Kiss fandom. I like meeting new people that are interested in Kiss, because I was lacking that when I was at the height of my Kiss fandom. There was no one around that liked Kiss at the same level as I did. And now finding you guys, we've been doing this for years, but just discussing things with fans at the same level, I think that's been really fantastic for me. Meeting people that understand what it's all about. So to me, my Kiss interest has sort of metamorphed into, the sort of a religious feeling, meeting people that understand what it is about. Instead of listening to a Kiss record, I can enjoy a discussion with a Kiss fan for an hour or two, and that really makes me happy. So I think I will continue to be a huge Kiss fan, and I will continue trying to meet guys that are at the same level in the fandom, because you can't talk about Kiss with a regular person. They don't get it. So these types of things with podcasts and stuff, that's what makes my, makes me tick, So through the podcast and through the discussions and listening to my favorite albums, I will continue doing that, I think, forever.
Yeah, you just touched on kind of a core concept. DNA, it's an affliction, it's an addiction. You can only talk about leprosy to other people who have leprosy. It really is so much part of who I am now, my identity, that I structure a lot of my weekends around things that I want to work on. I mean, you talked about the podcast that we're working. I've turned in the first part of my episode. 60 hours of work went into that. I would say I have not lost interest in Kiss if I'm putting 60 hours of work into 47.
Why don't you put 60 hours of work into our podcast, Julian?
Wow.
Because we just show up here and we talk. I don't have to write it out and have it make sense for 47 minutes.
You could make it all flashy and flamboyant, and
exactly. I get to do all the things that I enjoy doing with like the song stories on a larger and longer format. So, I get my rocks off doing that. And I've been going through boxes of CDs, chucking stuff out mostly, but checking them. And then I find all the Toronto Phase 1 rehearsal takes, and I had like 8 or 9 copies of it, and one of them was nearly pristine. So I've been geeking out on that sort of stuff. So, we've got 30 people watching this show today with us. So we're gathered with friends and family here, talking about a common passion. So my interest in like paying attention to what Paul Stanley, how many miles he rode today on his bicycle, is gone. I'm not keeping up with what Tommy's working on, or
that's so ridiculous.
or any of that. Who's cooking pancakes, who's making quiche, zero interest in that. But the music, the videos, and all that shit is still completely addictive. As I say in that podcast, my name is Julian, and I'm addicted to Kisstry. Ken?
Yeah, it hasn't stopped for me since 1977. So I've never wavered or anything. But
you don't know any other way.
No, I don't know any other way. But I just recently just thinking of about the realization that geez, I'm not going to see those guys in makeup again. I'm not going to see them on in a concert. I'm not going to see them new concerts online on YouTube or anything like that. It's kind of it's just starting to sink in that there's no more of that there anymore. So I kind of expect to listen to Kiss more because I had so much, oversaturation or whatever you want to call it of Kiss throughout the career and stuff, that I kind of listened. I didn't listen to them as much because I listened to them so many thousands, like thousands of times, all the albums and things. So now it's like it's kind of going away. And I think I'm going to probably listen to them more than I was listening to them actually while they were still touring and more active. I think just to enjoy it that way. Plus, it is about the music again. But yeah, I'm not going to waver. I'm hoping there's going to be some box sets down the road if this new group, what is it, Poop House, does their thing.
Poop House.
They're going to poop out some Kiss material for us.
Ken should change the parentheses to Optimistic Ken instead of Voice of Reason, because he's always talking about these box sets.
I know.
Because we're just flooded.
Optimistic Ken, 70s Ken. What else?
70s Ken never gives up.
70s Ken. But just real quick, we need to do a shout out to some of our listeners, because Bill Phelps, he's always here. The Opal Archive, always here. Simiak Solhoyo, always here. Sylvia Rose, always here. And these guys, and AB, I think his name is, they're always listening to us. And we don't forget you guys. We see it, and we appreciate you being here. Almost every live episode. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Give yourself a
Hell yeah,
round
we're in a
of
pub right
applause.
now. At least Lonnie is.
Yeah. I'm in a pub as well.
Yeah. So, you said something good by saying Poop House. If the drain has been clogged for a year, the pipeline has been clogged, then maybe they need to roto-rooter it and just flush it and get all that stuff out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they can start fresh.
Flush.
All right, we're gonna go into the final 16 of the Kiss album or studio album song death match. 16 songs remain, so we're just gonna do that round today. And we got Black goes into Pink, and
Let's get it right
final
today,
8
guys.
are gonna be. All right, first two songs.
This will be
Still
hard.
bitter, eh? Still bitter.
We are
Hey,
starting.
that's the Canadian thing.
I'm glad Julian's back on board here.
All right, so first two songs out are Creatures of the Night
That's a good one.
versus. These are all going to be ugly now. You know
Yep.
that. Oh,
Studio versions.
Yep. Versus
Okay.
Take Me.
Oh,
Mark,
jeez.
let's start with you.
Oh my God.
Well, yeah, like you said, it's going to be tough now. Like I said, I've never, I've said before that, Revenge is the one Bob album that I kind of like the most out of the other ones, right? And so I've, of course,
What does Revenge have to do with it?
Creatures take it.
Creatures and
Oh,
Take
sorry.
Me.
I was thinking of a different song.
Mark,
sorry.
are you the one drinking on the show today?
Yeah, I think I might have had a little too much earlier.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
thinking of Take It Off for a second there for some reason.
But Mark,
Oh, not take it off.
Mark,
That's
I'm
way
just thinking
different.
about what if Mark was drinking? How many burps would we get in an episode?
Oh,
That would be
you'd
pretty
get quite
cool
a
to
lot.
know.
I could do
my
the
gosh.
alphabet probably, but take me. There we go. Thank you. Take me versus Creatures. So this is going to be even tougher
You misspelled
because-
night.
because Take Me is of course off my favorite record, and Creatures of the Night is probably one of my favorite songs off the Creatures of the Night the album. I mean, I think that's such a great album. These are going to be really hard now, but
Torture.
to me, this is going to be between Sonics and Sonics, because both of them have the kind of thing that I like. Take Me has a sort of raw sort of sound that everybody was praying for after the Destroyer came out, and then the Creatures of the Night was the song, the album that was really kind of triumphantly returned Kiss, right? So, which one do I go for? I mean, it's difficult. I mean, I think I'm going to probably be a little bit contrarian. I'm going to go with Creatures of the Night because I kind of feel that even though Take Me is a good song, I think Creatures has a little bit more of what I like in a more modern production. It has a little bit more, the guitar playing is a little bit more flashier, a little bit more.
Surprise there.
Yeah, I mean, normally I would take Me, but in this situation, I don't know. I think my gut says to go with Creatures. I don't think it's going to win it, but I'm just going to go with Creatures.
All right, Ken, you're sitting there pondering and shaking your head. Let's see. Take Me or Creatures of the Night?
Take Me. It's easy for me. Take Me.
Easy? No, easy.
Yes, it is. It's a better classic song.
It's older. It's
In your
70s. Okay.
face.
Yeah, 70s Ken has
I
appeared.
got it.
Yeah, imagine Take Me. If you say production, take Me with Creatures production. I don't think it would work. I don't think it would sound good. It's something that would be missing there. So Take Me. I think Creatures is a good song, real good lead-off song, and it rocks and has the bombast. But Take Me is the very aggressive Paul, womanizing song and that sort of thing that they're known for. And it's just a great riffing, cool song, rock and roll at their best, when they were doing that stuff. So I gotta go with Take Me.
All right, Lonnie.
Not surprising Ken went with Take Me, but I was one that pushed Creatures into this next round to Ken's disappointment. He wasn't happy about it.
Was it you?
You weren't happy about it then either. And while I love Creatures of the Night, and I think the studio version of that is the superior version of that song, I'm still gonna go with Take Me because Take Me just embodies everything that a Kiss song should be, in my opinion. I think I've talked about this before when we had Take Me in one of these death matches with the Paul lyrics, the crotch rock lyrics, the great A solo, just the great groove of that song, just encompasses everything what a Kiss song should be, in my opinion. So as much as I like Creatures and I love the sound of Creatures of the Night, I'm with 70s Ken on this one. I'm going Take Me.
Nice. And Daniel, are you going to side with the 70s or the 80s?
I could actually go either way because these are two of my absolute favorite songs. I love the cock rock in Take Me. That's a cool song. The moonlight shining down on her head. I think it's so fantastic. Rocket in my pocket and all that. But Creatures of the Night is such a perfect studio version. From the lead-off solo, to the guitar solo, to Paul singing, to the bombastic drums. I think when we're talking studio albums, as good as Take Me is, to me, Creatures of the Night is a bit superior, actually. So I have to go with Creatures of the Night, but I could go either way. Both songs are 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's easy to go either.
The boss gets
So,
to decide,
Julian, you
There
have
we
to
go.
decide this.
Lonnie, what did you say?
I said Take Me.
Okay. Sorry.
Two. It's a
You're going to
draw.
make me decide this.
Yeah.
Math is hard.
So, do you want to live or do you want to die?
Wow.
I'm doing both. All right. So
It's a draw. It's a draw.
Take Me is
high.
just quintessential Kiss. And people have pointed out that I often kind of vote according to a historical perspective before personal taste. And Take Me fits everything to kind of sum up Kiss 77 and the Alive 2 era and the greatness of the group. But Creatures of the Night is so damn bombastic. I think it's going to come down to one factor, is that Take Me has all of the members of the group playing on it. And it has that tongue-in-cheek humor that really was the foundation of the group. And I'm going Take Me, and it hurts because the bombast of that song was just such a flipping of the switch. But Take Me
It was.
is just rock and roll. That is the identity
Yeah.
of Kiss summed up right there. And both of these songs sound great. Both of them have aged fantastically. And I could listen to either of them right now without any question.
Sure.
But I got to go with the 70s.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right. 2 down, 14 remain.
Oh.
Okay.
All these are going to suck. Just
I know.
Yeah.
Heaven's on Fire.
Okay.
Means we're going to start. We know who we're starting with on that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Come On and Love Me. Come On and Love Me versus Heaven's on Fire. Daniel, get us started.
Once again, I love both songs, but then you have to think about your own history, of course. And even though I discovered Dress to Kill pretty early on and loved the album at the first time I listened to it, and Come On and Love Me was one of the songs that stuck out, I can't go against Heavens on Fire. That's the reason why I became a Kiss fan, you know. The first, I just needed to hear that song one time, and I was a Kiss fan. I still remember it. I was in a tent. I was 10 years old. A guy put in the cassette. It was a black cassette, and it said Hard Rock, and it's called Hard Rock, Hard Rock, and he put it in the player and
Hard Rock,
pushed.
yes.
Yeah, Hard.
Horror rock.
Hard Rock.
Hard Rock.
Hard Rock. Yeah.
That's a new one.
And he put it in, and just that yodeling thing that Paul did, I immediately was caught back, and then it's been one of my favorite songs ever since. And there's some great vocals on that song. There's a catchy chorus, not much of a guitar solo, but you don't need it in that song. And it's one of Kiss's most popular songs. If you look at Spotify, for example, people still listen to this song, and I don't understand why. It's such a great song, so I have to go with Heaven's on Fire.
Lottie.
I was a little worried when Daniel started telling a story about being in a tent with another guy when he was 10 years old, and I'm glad it went the direction that it did.
Oh, my God.
I didn't say everything that happened in that tent.
Oh, no.
However, as much as we knew what Daniel's choice was going to be, we all know what my choice is going to be. As much as I love Heaven's on Fire, Come On and Love Me is my absolute favorite Kiss song. Again, it's just so classic of a song. It's in the same vein as Take Me, in my opinion, where it's just everything. It's everything I want a Kiss song to be. Is Come On and Love Me. It's just like Take Me is. So it's Come On and Love Me. Not gonna delay it any longer. It's really gonna be up to the rest of the three of you, because we all knew what Daniel, in my opinion, were gonna be.
All right, Ken. Which 70s song are you voting for here?
Yeah, easy to read Ken for this stuff.
Yeah, Heaven's on Fire is the song that, in my opinion, that song saved Animalize. Because
2 million sold.
There was, that's what sold that record. I think had that song not been on there, that would have really not sold anywhere near what it did. So from that standpoint, it's a great, it was a cool song, a great hit for them. But I gotta go with Come On and Love Me. Yes, it's 70s, of course. It just happens to be in the 70s. But it's a well-written, cool, classic Kiss, song, doing more of a poppy kind of feel, and it works, and it's catchy. So
even the studio version, Ken, because don't be thinking about a live there.
I'm not thinking about live. I like the studio version. I think both versions are good. Yeah, real good. So I'm okay with the production of Dress to Kill. Yeah, I would have rather had a little bit, heavier or raw or whatever, but it's not bad. It's pretty good production. So yeah, Come On and Love Me for me.
And who says a song needs a complex solo? I Love It Loud had 7 notes, and
Yeah,
Lick It
Heavens
Up.
on
barely a
Fire
solo
doesn't
on
have
that one too.
Pick it up.
Too many
Mark.
notes.
Okay, well, again, this is one of those difficult ones too, because both of them I voted for through on the last round. I love, Heaven's on Fire and Come On and Love Me. I love that song as well. Again, it kind of goes back to a little bit of what Daniel was saying too. I think when you heard these songs has a lot to do with how it impacts you, right? I mean, obviously for Daniel, when he first heard it, and that was his introduction to Kiss. I mean, it makes absolute perfect sense that he's going to pick that one, right? For me, it's kind of the same thing in essence, because while I think Dress to Kill is probably one of the best 70s albums that they did, for sure. I've always loved that record. Everything from it beginning to end, I've always loved. But I remember my sister, and she gets mentioned a lot on this podcast, Jane. She got that single Heaven's on Fire when it came out, and that was playing in our apartment like every day for weeks on end. And it was one of those early Kiss songs that I heard when I was just growing up, and it's punchy. It's to me, everybody is a classic to me, because they don't forget I'm a bit younger too. Well, not younger, but younger in some aspects. I like that kind of that generation of the 80s stuff, right? More, I don't know if I can say more than 70s, but I'm more. It feels more comfortable for me sometimes. The 80s stuff, it's just more familiar for me, right? So I'm going to go with Heaven's on Fire. As much as I love Come On and Love Me, I'm going to go with Heaven's on Fire, because again, there's something special about that. It brings me back to my younger days, and my sister introduced me to a lot of these Kiss classics.
So I've got to break the damn tie again.
Yep.
Great.
You're gonna kill the best song once again.
I am, because Heaven's on Fire now, I can't listen to without thinking of it as one of the songs that helped shred Paul Stanley's voice. Now,
The other one.
going back to becoming a fan, obviously my entry point was Tears Are Falling, and Heaven's
Right.
on Fire was still in pretty heavy rotation on MTV back then.
Yeah.
But I can't even measure that against Come On and Love Me. If I do a top 10, of Kiss songs right now, Come On and Love Me's there, and Heaven's on Fire sure as hell isn't. Sorry, Daniel. Sorry, Mark. But Come On and Love Me has always been one of my favorite Kiss songs. And
Yeah, same here.
it's no thought. It's absolutely nothing. I'm not even. I don't even feel guilty about killing
should.
Daniel's dreams.
Seven.
I
We
got
have
Julian in
70s
my
Julian
corner.
now.
Julian, the executioner. Yeah.
70s Julian.
I
joined
passed the
70s
torch
Ken.
to Julian now.
Yes.
Yeah,
I got
Sorry,
Julian in my
Daniel.
corner.
but at least you have a nice story about it.
We need some younger guys on the podcast, guys.
Oh, Mark and there's 3 Asylumites.
Younger.
Here.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest guy on the show, and I said, "Come on and love me."
See, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Next one.
Dean is disappointed in us.
This is pure torture this round.
Wait till
Oh,
this
Lord.
one. Black Diamond.
Oh, Lord.
Ooh.
Oh.
What's I going to eliminate?
Could not
King
be.
of the Nighttime World.
Okay.
Oh, that's pretty
This is
easy.
easy.
This is
Okay.
easy.
I was hoping it wasn't against another song, but anyway.
Ken, get us started. Which 70s song are you voting for here?
Yeah, Black Diamond for sure. Like my favorite song. Just the classic riff and the whole vibe of it. Peter's vocals. Everyone's. This is not live. Yeah, it's studio. The studio's not the greatest production, but it's still good enough to represent that song for what it is. The bombast of that song, the way it is. That's why that was their closer. in the early Kiss, they closed out with that, or before they did the Let Me Go Rock and Roll, I guess. That was the big closer. So that was their rock and roll night before rock and roll night, came along later on. So yeah, great song, favorite. It's an easy one for me.
Which one was it?
You have to
right.
ask, really?
The Black Diamond.
Oh, okay. No, I'm writing and
Not King of the Nighttime.
Multitasking.
Not a cover song.
You can't do that. You know that, Julian.
putting up comments. It's getting more and more
I'm not
difficult.
going to pick a
with
cover
each
song.
passing year. All right, Lonnie. Let's go from the elder to the youngster. Or younger Erster.
The elder.
That young
Music
anymore.
from the elder.
I love King of the Nighttime World, and it's like, unlike Mark, every song on Destroyer has like some special meaning for me because it's the first Kiss record I ever heard. I just love Destroyer. But I'm gonna go Black Diamond, and it's probably gonna be unanimous amongst the five of us. Even though I do love King of the Nighttime World a whole lot, and I love Paul's vocal. Man, and it's a cover, this and that, but man, it's a Kiss song in my opinion when you listen to that song, versus the original version of it. But I am gonna go Black Diamond, even though it's tough to see King of the Nighttime World, which is gonna fall in this round.
Okay, Mark.
Well, obviously, I think it's going to be clear where I'm going to go here. It's on that album. But with that said, King of the Nighttime World is probably my favorite song off that album. I've always kind of said that's the one that's least Bobified out of all of them. So I think it's a good song. It definitely isn't a complete landslide. It's not like that. Like it's like going against like Great Expectations or something like that. So it is definitely a great song that I went up against. But I'm going to make a prediction here now. I think Black Diamond's going to be the winner of this whole thing. It's just if it isn't the winner of this whole thing, then Kiss fans need to take a good hard look at themselves in the mirror if it doesn't win. Okay.
Why should the other fans have to take a good look at themselves?
Because if you don't agree Black Diamond is the best Kiss song that was ever written, then you really need to reevaluate.
But we're the ones voting, not them.
Yeah. But still, I'm just saying overall, because I'm to look at the people in the gallery too, because I'm looking at the people who are also commenting as well.
You're holding them accountable.
I'm holding all of you accountable, okay, for this, all right? But I think Black Diamond is definitely going to go through in this round at least, for sure. But I predict it's going to win the whole thing. We'll see, but that's what I'm guessing.
Wow, Daniel. Mark, you're the first opinionated Kiss fan I've ever met.
Yes.
Daniel.
I think there are some problems when it comes to the production of Black Diamond. I prefer the live version, or even bootlegs from the 90s with Eric Singer on vocals. I think the studio version, well, that whole record, there's a problem with the production. When you look at the song note by note, solo vocals, it's still a great song. And King of the Nighttime World is probably one of the best Kiss covers of all time. Maybe God Gave Rock and Roll to You is a bit better, but those two are my favorite covers. But I'll go with Black Diamond this time around, but I'm not so sure it will beat every song in the catalog for me.
This is an absolute no-brainer for me. King of the Nighttime World is a bombastic, grandiose, cinematic declaration of a new Kiss emerging, a butterfly being transformed from whatever. Black Diamond is fucking Trinity. It is holy trinity of Kiss songs for me. Yeah. It is, again, one of those first Kiss songs I ever heard, fresh off a plane from England, experiencing the double platinum version. It's Black Diamond, without a doubt. Not only is it a great song, a great vocal, it's a great thing in concert. It's just great, great, great. And King of the Nighttime World is cool on occasion in comparison for me. So we have our first unanimous song.
Wow.
Next up. All right, Curly. Hard Times versus
Times.
Unholy. Lonnie.
Child, please. We're going unholy on this one. I like Hard Times, and I talk about how great Ace was in '79 after his solo album, how he really hit his stride, yada, yada, yada. But it's unholy. Come on. Do the right thing, the other four of you.
Wow, that was quick and to the point.
Quick and to the point. It's
Do
not-
the
it's
right
not
thing.
a
All right.
question. Do the right
No
thing.
discussion.
We gotta go to a partner in crime here for latter era stuff. Which one of you guys played the riff to Unholy in your riff offs? Mark.
Yeah. So okay, let's look at it this way, and I promise I won't make this really long. I've always said that Dynasty was one of these things that, like those albums, that I've always had a great fondness for it. When I listen to it, it just screams New York City when I listen to it, and I love New York City. I've been there several times, and I love the city itself. So it rings true for me. It's a great great song and great album. Unholy, again, when I first heard that song, I couldn't even believe it was Kiss. It just completely floored me when I heard that the first time. I thought, wow, unbelievable how great that song was. And it's always been, to me, one of these songs that I've always been highly impressed with. It has some of Bruce Kulick's best guitar solo work. And you know me, I'm a Bruce Kulick guy through and through. He's my number one Kiss guy. I've always said that from beginning to end. So, Lonnie, I know me and you don't see eye to eye a lot of times and things, but brother, I'm with you on this one. It's Unholy.
All right, Ken. Which Gene song are you voting for?
Wait a minute. Which Gene's? Yeah, this one was Gene. Yeah, I got to go with Unholy. It's just such a great song to come back with. Kind of like, after their, what is it, Hot in the Shade and all that stuff. And though I love Hard Times, but it doesn't stand up to Unholy. Unholy, the great just feel of it, the kind of the creepiness of it in a way, but very almost Metallica like, in a way, right? Like that's what we're trying to go for, I think, when they did that song. But yeah, great guitar sound, guitar solo, yes, by Bruce, of course. The drumming, everything about it is great. The vocals, just great Gene vocals on that one. So I got to go with that one. That's the easy one.
Daniel?
When it comes to production and the way songs sound on studio albums, I'd say Unholy is my absolute favorite of all time, I think. That's the way I want the songs to sound. Maybe the drums on Creatures are a bit better, but otherwise Unholy is perfection when it comes to sonics. Great lyrics, awesome Bruce solo, great vocals from Gene. I mean, this is one of my favorite studio versions of any Kiss song. Yeah. So this one ranks real high for me when it comes to studio versions. Live, we all know they couldn't, it was too high for Gene, but the studio version still holds up. And when I play a song for Kiss, for non-Kiss fans, and I want to show them something that sounds real cool, I pick this song, the studio version of Unholy. So that's my pick.
Well, I refuse to make this unanimous because my reaction to Unholy when I first heard it was, what the fuck is that?
Really?
Hard Times, I love the autobiographical nature of it. It's tougher. It's not fake. Everything about Unholy is fake. They weren't that bad.
Whoa.
Leather trench coats, goatees, pimping and domino. That whole album is just a farce.
You're killing 13-year-old me.
Wow.
So you prefer the flamingo look? Like they had in the late 70s,
Sounds
early
like
80s. That's
an
what the way
attack
to
on
look.
Lonnie.
Wearing some pink on stage. Yeah.
No, but Hard Times is completely contrasting to the Dynasty image.
That's
because
true.
it's the only song that had any street cred on that album was Ace's stuff. Unholy was just a copycat of a lot of elements and things. Yeah, it's exquisitely performed. Bruce's solo is absolutely stunning, but I'm going hard times on this. Sorry, guys.
Man,
There you go.
Mm,
wow.
70s Julian.
Julian with a wet towel over that whole for Unholy.
whoa.
Rocket Ride. Let's have another attempt at the
Ooh, Rocket Ride.
the original. Oh shit! Versus Rick Derringer, Exciter. Rocket Ride versus Exciter. Lonnie.
Okay.
Good. That is really good, but I'm going 70s Ken on this one and going Rocket Ride over Exciter. I love Exciter. I think it kicks off, Lick It Up the way Creatures of the Night kicked off Creatures of the Night. But Rocket Ride with Ace singing and just a 70s vibe of that, it's so underrated. It's got to be Rocket Ride for me over that. I do love Exciter, but man, Rocket Ride's so darn good. It should have been on Love Gun. I mean, it's so great. And I think it had been on Love Gun, maybe it would have gotten more, more love from the fan base than just being like just this, side studio track off of Alive 2. But I'm going Rocket Ride. Sorry, Exciter.
All right. Ken.
Yeah. I also have to go with Rocket Ride. I love that song, the way it starts. The riff is so cool in that song. And the guitar solo, great vocals by Ace. He feels comfortable by that time doing that one. And yeah, even the production on that is actually pretty darn. I like it, I think did they record it on a stage or whatever? I guess those songs back then. But yeah, that's a great song. I love Exciter. I think that's one of my favorite songs off of Lick It Up. But I like Rocket Ride over that, definitely.
All right, Mark.
Yeah, both songs are really exceptionally well done, well written, well recorded. Exciter, I've liked. I mean, that's one of the ones that me and Daniel did as well on our riff episode, and I sung its praises. I do like Rocket Ride. One thing I do like about Rocket Ride is that it does introduce a few different things from Ace that he hasn't. I don't think he's done on a Kiss album. After this as well, is that he's never used wah pedals like on his solo like he did in this song. And I mean, even the whole flanger thing, I mean, he does it in his solos and stuff like that, but as on a recorded song, I don't think he's done it very often, if memory serves correctly. And again, I love the 80s Kiss stuff too. But I'm gonna go with Rocket Ride, but there's one thing I've always been suspect with Rocket Ride when closing with this, is that I've always wondered why they've never played it live. Like, why they never played it as a band. I mean, Ace was in the band up until the Elders, so they had opportunity. They could have did it during the Unmasked tour, and they never did it then, right? I just always wondered why for such a great song, why they never played it live. It's but I'm still going to go for Rocket Ride.
Yeah, they released it as a single, actually, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't written by Gene or Paul, so
you don't want to give Ace too much love.
He got outvoted. Yeah.
It was their last top 40 single until of the real Kiss, because once you get into I Was Made for Loving You. Who's left?
Me.
Daniel. Sorry, Daniel.
Yeah, they actually performed Rocket Ride live during the farewell tour as a part of a medley, and you didn't like that Ace played that song. What does the Ace Frehley band want to do next?
Yeah,
and they played Rocket Ride.
Probably because you didn't know what the song was.
No, he didn't know how to play it, I think.
I remember.
But that was the first time when I heard that song. Was the first time I heard that effect, flanger, or however you pronounce it. Yeah. So and I think it was real cool. And it's just unfortunate that they thought that Then She Kissed Me was a better Kiss song than Rocket Ride, because if this would have ended up on Love Gun, I think it would have become more of a classic. Now it's sort of a throwaway on the final side of Alive 2, but Rocket Ride all the way.
Yeah, this is actually the most difficult matchup so far today for me personally. I love Rocket Ride. I think it's a fantastic song, but Exciter is one of the most outrageously good opening tracks on any Kiss album, and just the attitude of that. Because my vote really doesn't count at this point, I am going with Exciter for the 80s Kiss over Ace, just because to me that song means more and has brought me far more pleasure in the early part of becoming a Kiss fan. So like Daniel's Heaven's on Fire, I'm gonna jump into the fire with Exciter. All right. Next matchup. Love Gun. That's really nice. Now pick Love Gun versus Detroit Rock City.
Two Paul songs.
Lonnie.
Oh.
Exactly.
My gut just tells me Detroit Rock City. As much as I love Love Gun and think it's such a classic riff and just a classic Kiss song, I can't vote against it up against Detroit Rock City, which is the more classic, the probably better song in my opinion, even though it is very, very neck and neck. It's the better solo. It's better lyrics at the end of the day. So I'm gonna go Detroit Rock City, even, and it's splitting hairs choosing that one. But for me, it's gonna be Detroit Rock City. It's gonna be interested to see what the rest of the panel says, but we're going one vote Detroit Rock City.
Yeah, this is gonna be brutal. Ken.
Yeah, it's kind of tough, but I'm with Lonnie on this. Detroit Rock City it's a better, well-written song, and even though that's not the best, our ultimate production of it or whatever, it still sounds pretty darn good and has a great lyric, great sound. The harmonizing, guitar solo and all that stuff was all very cool. Love Gun I would like that. It's a great song, probably overplayed in concert, obviously. I'd rather hear Detroit Rock City in concert over Love Gun any day. So, yeah, I gotta go with Detroit Rock City for sure.
Okay, Mark. I'm actually very interested to see what Mark has to say in this one.
Well, I think the songs are very, very similar in a lot of ways. I mean, both songs are played so much that we're probably sick of both of them to a certain degree. If you're looking at it that way, like how often they're played, they're both considered classics, obviously. And I've said before too. I think Detroit Rock City, if it wasn't for the long introduction to it, I think that it would be a song that I've totally loved. But I still love it anyways, regardless of the introduction to it. I think it has a great guitar solo in it. And I have to admit, I like the Detroit Rock City guitar solo better than I do the Love Gun one. And I think that Love Gun, while I think that the production of Love Gun is a little bit more to my liking, as we know, we don't have to go into great details why that is, but I think that I'm still going to give the nod to Detroit Rock City, because I think that overall, it's just one of those songs that I think Kiss fans would scream bloody murder more if that wasn't played than Love Gun.
Interesting. Daniel, you were jamming out to the solo on one of these songs prior to us going on the air. today.
Yeah,
I
it's
heard
such
you
it's
doing a
such
little
a yeah, it's such a perfect Bob Ezrin solo. Because Bob Ezrin sang that melody to Ace and say play this, and one of his best contributions to the album, I think, that solo from Bob Ezrin.
Yeah.
Note for note, I think Detroit Rock City is the superior song. Love Gun is simplistic, but really cool song. I love that. Ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-da-ba, ba-da-da-da-da. The drums go in, and it works so well live. And I think the studio version sounds pretty cool as well. But Detroit Rock City is probably one of my favorites off of Destroyer. I think it's so well constructed, and everything from the vocals to the solo to the way it ends. I love the ending to that song, and the story in the song. So I have to go with Detroit Rock City.
Love Gun has a fantastic. I love the blast drums
Yeah,
on that.
me too.
I love that it takes the Blues Magoo solo and incorporates it because it has, again, historical connection with Ace's learning guitar from Pepe Castro. I like how it takes part of the Hunter from Albert King and Zeppelin, who had recycled and stolen it as well. But Detroit Rock City, I don't care if Bob Ezrin wrote that solo. Ace and Paul had to play that section, and it is just majestic. The song tells a story. Again, it is everything that's perfect. Even the intro, and I like how someone mentioned Americana and Evil Knievel, Opal Archive, thank you, and Marvel Comics, and how that whole part of it illustrates something. Yeah, it does speak to Americana, and I think as a non-American, I think of it as it very much paints the band as an American band, a mighty American band as well, in a good sense. Detroit Rock City, across the board.
Wow.
All right, we've got two matchups left.
Lonnie had to go get ice. Anyway.
Yeah, you need another Yangling. That's
Need a
okay. We'll
cold.
wait for him. I love it loud.
I love it loud.
Guys.
Yeah.
I love it.
Deuce.
The
Deuce?
studio version. Yeah.
Deuce versus I love it loud.
Okay.
Ken.
Yeah, I mean, sure, the production is better on Creature of the Night, but and I Love It Loud is a great kind of anthem. But Deuce is, to me, the classic Kiss, what it's all about. Great song, great, cool. I still can't understand, the riff that it's just a weird kind of riff that goes on in that song. That's what makes it cool. That's part of the coolness of that song. And then and the lyrics is like it's like, what are you talking about? I mean, but it's all like, but it all works still. And Gene's
Dropping a deuce.
Yeah. Gene's vocals on that are great. It's their kind of early really hard rocker for Kiss. I think that was the hardest rocking song they had. I mean, that's why it opened a lot of concerts, down the road. So great solo. Everything about it is great. I never get tired of Deuce, so I got to go with that.
Okay, Daniel.
Yeah, I love Deuce. But for me, Deuce was the Alive 3 version, actually. I think that was the first time that I understood that was such a great song when I heard that hard rocking version on Alive 3. And then I went back and listened to Alive. It was still awesome. And then I picked up the studio album, the debut, and I was so disappointed. I thought it sounded like crap compared to the live versions. So I actually never really got into the studio version. I much more prefer the live versions. The one on Alive and Live 3 both are awesome. And if we would vote live versions, I would go Deuce anytime. But studio versions, I'm not so sure. I Love It Loud is a bombastic song with a rally, rallying the crowd with that chant. Great Gene vocals, sinister, the lead-off single off of one of the greatest Kiss albums of all time. I think I'll go with I Love It Loud.
Oof. Lonnie, while you're away, the next matchup was Deuce versus I Love It Loud.
Studio
I heard
versions.
Studio versions. Daniel's campaigning like I campaign. That's a great matchup because I do agree with Daniel that the studio version of Deuce is lacking in comparison to that live version and that Live 3 version. And I Love It Loud, so bombastic on Creatures. I love the way
True that.
that it sounds on Creatures of the Night. And I think I'm going to agree with Daniel. I think I'm going to go I Love It Loud over Deuce because we have to remember we're talking studio versions and not live versions. While I probably, at the end of the day, may like Deuce better as a song or may enjoy Deuce more in concert than I do I Love It Loud, I'm going to say if we're looking at Creatures of the Night version of I Love It Loud versus the Kiss version of Deuce, I'm going to say Creatures of the Night. I'm sorry. I'm going to say I Love It Loud off Creatures of the Night.
Creatures of the Night. Julian killed Creatures of the Night way back.
I know he did.
Yeah, no, you're all trying to kill Deuce. Mark.
Do it.
Well, I think it's interesting because Deuce has always been one of those songs I've loved. I played it on a couple of bands of mine that I was in. We used to cover that a lot. And we're talking about, even when we talk about these songs in like live aspects, which I'm not using that for, but it's interesting. Both songs are pretty well known live. I mean, when you listen to I Love It Loud, you have the whole audience doing the hey, but I mean, it's become so well known, that song. It's almost a live classic, I Love It Loud, in that aspect. But again, when we're talking about this sort of comparison that we were talking about when we're talking about studio records, I've always loved Creatures of the Night. That record is so well done. I mean, even the weakest song on Creatures of the Night sounds all the better because of the production of it on there. I mean, it just takes it and puts it to another level. And I've always ranked the debut album very high in my top 20s or top 30 or whatever listings of the albums, but it does lack something overall. It takes those songs and doesn't make them nearly as good. Firehouse is a great example. It's a very poor version of that song on there. And same with Deuce. I mean, as much as I know Julian's going to kill me for this, I'm going to go with I Love It Loud. I think it's much better a studio song than Deuce is on there. Deuce, I think, needed help and needed some drive and needed some balls to the guitar tone on there. It's just really, really just not. It doesn't hit hard at all. I don't know why people said it's a hard-hitting song because it's not on there. Compared to I Love It Loud, not even close.
I'm not going to burn down the podcast because I don't like the results of the election, Mark. But I must say, you all fell for fake news there. Deuce is holy. Deuce, whether it's off Smashes, whether it's off Alive, whether it's 95, 93, 73, 74, 70, whatever. Deuce is my jam. And I love every single version of it. I hear it in concert, and I'm taken to a happy place. I watched Gene Simmons last week doing it live in concert, and I smile. I listened to the first album, and it sounds great there. It survives and is powerful and is excellent despite the production being shit, which I cannot argue against.
Great song. It's a great song.
Yep, I am not going to vote I Love It Loud, which is equally a great song, because I'm voting my conscience here. I am voting with a clear conscience, with no agenda. Deuce for me is the better song, and I lose this round. Up yours.
Wow.
I tried,
Because
Julian.
That's
hey,
payback for Creatures of the Night.
I can't say the better song won there, but at least it was a good song. At least it wasn't Shandy.
Yeah.
All right. I Want You
Oh, Lord.
versus Nowhere to Run.
Ooh.
Another
I Want You, Nowhere to Run.
I Want You versus Nowhere to Run. I'm going to go first on this.
Yeah.
And I'm going Nowhere to Run, which is a majestic, absolutely stunning song that should have been performed live in concert and should have been a single. I Want You grates on me because again, I am sullied by the live experience, and I can't only measure it against the Rock and Roll Over version, which is exquisite, but it's everything that it became. I put it up against Nowhere to Run, and Nowhere to Run is just absolutely stunning, and slightly more stunning than I Want You. Daniel.
Yeah, it seems like the listeners are agreeing with you. A lot of votes for Nowhere to Run, and two great songs, of course. If you're a 70s guy, there's some sound coming out of one of your microphones. I don't know whose. Whatever. But I think Nowhere to Run is one of those hidden gems.
Don't forget
First
the
time I
production.
heard. Yeah, I think the production is perfect on Kiss Killers. I like the production. I like the way the vocals comes through. I like the bass. I hear the bass. I hear every instrument, which was lacking on later records like Asylum and Animalize. I think the drums were kind of buried, but on Nowhere to Run you hear the drums, and we've all heard the versions on the Creatures box set, and they managed to improve from the beginnings. We started off with a pretty basic drumming, and then they improved that, and the Bob Kulick solo is really cool. I Want You is such a perfect song as well. The intro. I love the version from the 1990 Hot in the Shade tour when the disco ball came from the rafters, and the Kiss sign rose in the back. I mean, I think that was the first time I really understood that I Want You is such a great song, but that's a live version as well. This is a hard one. I think both songs are close to perfection. But today, I just played one of the riffs, and it wasn't I Want You, it was the Nowhere to Run riff. I love that riff. So I'll go with Nowhere to Run, but it's close.
Lonnie.
I'm gonna go. That's tough. It is tough. I agree with you that Nowhere to Run and I Want You are both very, very well constructed, very good songs. But I think I Want You is the better song at the end of the day. While Nowhere to Run is great and maybe underappreciated being on Killers, I Want You is classic Kiss, and it's just again, it's like one of those songs. And I said it about Take Me, and I said it about Come On and Love Me, but it just sounds to me what a Kiss song is supposed to sound like, and it represents everything that a Kiss song is supposed to be. Where I Want You is, Nowhere to Run is very good. I think I Want You is superior Kiss song for me.
This is a close one.
Yes.
You're muted, Julian.
You're muted. You did a Ken. What the hell?
Ken.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for you.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I love both songs. I think you're talking about production. I don't think the production's that good of those four songs. I think it would have been better under the Creatures sound. But I think the production of I Want You is much better. And the ultimate sound for Kiss. And plus the song itself, "I Want You," is one of the early songs that got me hooked. Just the great, I thought, it's got to be a mellow song, and then it kicks you and, hits you right in the face. And then everything about you, the vocals, the drums, the great guitar solos, the riff in that one, I think is better than in "Nowhere to Run" for sure. And just great vocal, Paul Stanley vocal, just awesome vocal, one of his best vocals. So "I Want You" is a winner for me.
Well, Mark is going to slip out of his Zen-like state and break the tie here between "Nowhere to Run" and "I Want You."
Well, see, this is going to be tight because, like I said, Rock and Roll Over is my favorite record, and what a way to start a record, "I Want You." I've always thought that was a great intro. That guitar's always been really one of those things I've always enjoyed, that sort of 12-string acoustic sound in there. It's really cool, and I've always been a fan of that album overall. The rawness of it, and I agree, the singing Paul does is really good on this as well. But then of course we also have the other song we're talking about here. So I mean, obviously,
Which one was it?
Well, come on. I mean,
which song is that, Mark?
"Nowhere to Run" is obviously one of the great songs that they've done. I mean, for me, the one thing about this song that I always thought that was interesting is why it never appeared on Creatures. I mean, there's probably reasons, obviously, why it wasn't, but it's such a great song, and all the things that we can talk about with "I Want You," I think you can echo on that song as well, "Nowhere to Run." I mean, I think Paul's vocals are really, really fantastic on that song. The guitar solo is fantastic in that song. It's one of the. I've always loved the arrangement of that song too, and I think the production of it is really well done as well. I think that it is the standout of the four, in my opinion, on that album, Killers. So as much as I do love "I Want You," I'm going with "Nowhere to Run." I think "Nowhere to Run" is a better song overall, and I think that it's to me, it'll always be a classic.
Nice. I'm actually happy with that one after you guys killing Deuce. Shame on you. We'll have revenge. All right, so we are going to just do a quick recap here. The songs going into the final 8, and in the next death match in June, we're going to do the final rounds to the winner. It'll all be in one fell swoop. All 5 of those are available. So the songs that are going to contest the final battle: "Take Me," "Come On and Love Me," "Black Diamond," "Unholy," "Rocket Ride," "Detroit Rock City," "I Love It Loud," and "Nowhere to Run," and Deuce.
180s song, 190s song, and the rest from the 70s. Well, that sounds pretty.
There were 2 80 songs.
Mark.
"I Love It Loud" and "Nowhere to Run" are 80s.
Yeah, that's actually 81. Yeah, that's true. 2 80s,
Yeah.
190s.
I mean, it's really not surprising that we have that many 70 songs.
No,
but I'm
no.
surprised that some of the 70 songs have been assassinated by you guys. Really.
It's never been more disappointed in us.
Yeah. I'll kill Unholy eventually.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. So I want to take the opportunity to thank everyone for joining us today and chiming in with your votes and your opinions and your diagnoses of our insanity. That's always helpful. Doing these live shows is what it's all about. We started the show talking about whether, there's a loss of interest, but getting together and doing these shows and having your opinions while we do it keeps it fun. But that's it for this episode. So for now, for Ken, for Mark, Lonnie, Daniel, and myself, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.